Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition or episode of the Hare Krishna Project podcast. This is episode number 185. Yes, 185, which means we are just 15 episodes away from our 200th episode. I am incredibly grateful to everyone who tunes in every week or every episode, because we're producing more than one episode a week at the moment. I'm grateful to you for tuning in to listen to our guest or our guests. And I'm also grateful for the feedback that we've received over the years. Do not forget, if you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button so you can be kept updated about future podcasts and video productions from the Hare Krishna Project. And or if you're watching this on Facebook, which is the other location or place you can watch these podcasts. If you're watching it on Facebook, please do like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page so you can be kept updated about future podcasts and video productions from the Hare Krishna Project. And also see all the other fantastic stuff that we do. Of course, I'm a bit biased by saying it's fantastic. We have a small team, but we're busy and we're active. We're doing book distribution, Hare Krishna festivals, school programs, and we are part of the League of Devotees, the network of independent temples and projects. And we're incredibly enthusiastic about sharing the teachings of Srila Prabhupada with ordinary, everyday people. Okay, episode 185. Those of you who are regular viewers or listeners of this podcast will notice there's something very different about this episode. It's just me. It's just me talking. No, it's not because the guest has failed to turn up this week. It's not because someone's stood me up. It's because for the first time ever, I'm going to be talking myself, a bit like a monologue, for this podcast. I know other podcasters do that often. It's just a recording or a live stream of themselves talking, but I've never wanted to do that because this podcast has never been about me. It's never been about my thoughts, really. I mean, I was a guest myself on episode 100 and someone else interviewed me. But there's a particular reason why I am talking myself on this week's edition. And that's because at the moment, I am the only person publicly willing to speak about this issue. I've searched not quite high and low, but I've asked around to see if there's anyone who's willing to speak publicly about today's topic. And to date, I have found nobody. So it's been left to me to talk about it. And I've been keen to make this podcast for a while because it's a really important topic. And those of you who have been following this podcast for several years will know that we've developed a reputation here at the Hare Krishna Project for producing podcasts that are quite hard-hitting, quite edgy, and we talk about issues that other podcasters within the Hare Krishna community are not willing to talk about. We've produced podcasts. So we talk about lots of great things about Krishna consciousness, but also we really talk about some of the kind of edgy stuff within the movement that hasn't gone so well and doesn't go so well, because we really believe in reforming the community from within and trying to make it better as a service to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and to our acharyas. So we have produced in the past podcasts about black magic, satanic ritual abuse, child marriage, all within the Hare Krishna movement. And today's topic is almost at the same level as those. Earlier this year, I was contacted by a young man, a man who's actually now in his mid-20s, to share with me something that he wanted to talk to me about. A lot of people get in touch with me, with our team, because they often have something that they want to share, something that's kind of important to them, something that's kind of happened to them personally, and something that they may be even traumatized by. Earlier this year, a young man contacted me to tell me about his experiences as a teenager within the Hare Krishna movement. He told me that from the age of 13, he was involved in internet chats, in online forums, where leaders or a certain leader or a self-proclaimed leader within the Hare Krishna community was encouraging him to self-harm online for this person's sexual gratification. This person who shared his story with me, he will remain anonymous. He went on to share some of the terrible things that he experienced as a teenager, being involved remotely, online, virtually, with this particular leader within the Hare Krishna community, where for a period of time, this person was encouraging him to self-harm, to hurt himself, all under the guise of Krishna consciousness. He asked me if I'd heard of anyone called Josh Sutter, and my response was immediately no. He then went on to tell me the story of Josh Sutter, and to my just surprise, it was and is quite a terrifying and horrific story. And I thought I'd heard everything in the Hare Krishna community, but it wasn't until this year that I'd heard about the case or the story of Josh Sutter. So I'm going to share it with you today and add some information as to what I've discovered about Josh Sutter, because some of you will still be none the wiser despite me mentioning that name a number of times. Back in the noughties, which is the decade that came after the 90s and the 2000s, a man named Joshua Caleb Sutter, who was and is, because as far as we know he's still alive, a lifelong neo-Nazi, a white supremacist, a supporter of North Korea. He joined ISKCON. Not only did he join ISKCON, but he was initiated into the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And his wife as well, Gillian Hoy, was also initiated and took the name Jayalalitha Devi Dasi. Joshua Caleb Sutter was given the name Jatayu Das, or Jatayu Prabhu. They were initiated around the late noughties, and they were initiated into ISKCON, into the Gaudiya tradition by Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Now, behind the scenes, they were living a very different life. They were living a very different life than what we'd all expect would be the standard of somebody initiated into the Gaudiya Vaishnav tradition, irrespective of which mat or sangha you belong to within Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's family tree. They were living a very different life behind the scenes, and actually they were living the life of leaders of a cult. They were building a cult in their home. Now, cult is not a word that I often use because cult means different things to different people. And a lot of academics, instead of using the word cult, would use the term NRM or New Religious Movement. But I am going to use the word cult today because I'm satisfied, based on my own understanding of what a cult is, Josh Sutter and his wife were running a cult. And they called it the New Bihar Mandir, the New Bihar Mandir. Now, it looked like a Hare Krishna temple on the surface. Sanskrit names, deity worship, they wore tilak, there were altars dedicated to Radha Krishna. But in reality, it was one of the most disturbing cult locations, cult operations that I've certainly ever heard about. So the New Bihar Mandir was a fusion of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Hare Krishna imagery, theology, philosophy, phraseology, but also included the worship of Kali and Kalki, which isn't necessarily bad, so to speak. That's part of wider Hinduism. But it also involved elements of Satanism, elements of neo-Nazi ideology, and certainly a lot of discrimination and racism and anti-Semitism. These two people, these two initiates into ISKCON, They offered guns and knives to Kali on their altar. They claimed that Lord Kalki would bring divine annihilation, and their role was to prepare the way. As individuals, as initiated members of ISKCON, and on the surface, it looked like they were running some kind of Hare Krishna outfit, even though it really wasn't inside. Despite that, they praised suicide bombers and justified ritual violence as part of a spiritual purge. They even used the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra as a black magic chant. And they even published their own scripture called Purusha Meda, which is named after the Vedic human sacrifice ritual. And despite appearing certainly outside of their homes and at ISKCON temples to be well-behaved members of ISKCON, they actually weren't at all. And here's the part that turns this from horrifying to surreal. From talking to people that I've contacted and from my own research, it would appear that at that time that they were involved in ISKCON, the US government was paying them the entire time. So Josh Caleb Sutter, Jatayu Das, was also a paid FBI informant. According to court records that we have seen, he was given over 140,000 US dollars while running this operation. This is the same guy who created a fake Hare Krishna temple to push Satanism and fascist terrorism, whilst at the same time being bankrolled by the US federal government. And despite pretty much all of this being public now, despite all of this being in the public domain for many years, there's not been a single reference to this by anyone in ISKCON. No one in ISKCON has mentioned this publicly, and there has been no investigation. There has been no statement from their initiating guru, Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Absolutely nothing. This wasn't just some side project, okay? This wasn't just something on the side. Josh Caleb Sutter and his wife ran this cult for many years. Sutter's father was also an initiated member of ISKCON. They took part in regular Hare Krishna events. They posed as sincere people. Now, what concerns us here at the Hare Krishna Project is a lot of this seems to have been pushed under the carpet. A lot of this is not spoken about, similar to the other investigations that we have carried out here at the Hare Krishna Project into issues like child sex trafficking in ISKCON, and also black magic and satanic ritual abuse. Just this week, another grown man in the UK contacted me to tell me that as a young man in ISKCON, he was subject to satanic ritual abuse. It does go on. Now, at the moment, very few people in the Hare Krishna community are willing to talk about this topic, which is incredibly sad. On so many of the other big topics that the Hare Krishna community has faced, people are talking about it. For example, child sex abuse in ISKCON. You know, I take my hat off to those soldiers, those warriors that run the Vedic Inquirer Facebook group. They have been talking about child sex abuse in ISKCON for years, and thanks to them and their continuation and to speak about it, more and more people now know about the horrific experiences that so many people have gone through, particularly within ISKCON, in terms of child sex abuse. But we need to talk about other issues too. So I'm opening up, and it is online already, so I don't want to dismiss what others have said, but I'm opening up this dialogue now, an even greater public dialogue about Joshua Caleb Sutter, initiated into ISKCON in the late noughties as Jatayu Das by Bir Krishna Goswami. Firstly, what I want to do is make you aware of it, which I've now done. And secondly, I want to encourage anyone who has any information about Joshua Caleb Sutter to get in touch with us here at the Hare Krishna Project. Your communication with us will be treated anonymously. Most people, and pretty much everyone who gets in touch with us, first off, their communication is always treated anonymous unless they want to share it with a wider audience. You can contact us anonymously through our website. There's a messaging device, a mechanism, or you can email us info@harekrishnaproject.org. If you have information that you'd like to share with us about Joshua Caleb Sutter, about particularly his time in ISKCON, if you'd met him, if you'd served with him, if you had visited his temple, where on the outside it looked like a Hare Krishna Gaudiya Vaishnava temple, and on the inside it certainly wasn't. And if you have any more information about his role as an FBI informant, I'd be very keen to hear from you, particularly in reference to this payout from the US government of $140,000 US dollars. We're always keen to treat all issues here at the Hare Krishna Project with seriousness, with professionalism. And it may be that we produce other podcasts in the future as we now start this more thorough and broader and deeper investigation into Joshua Caleb Sutter and his involvement with ISKCON. As I said before, if you have any information, please do get in touch. That was it. That was it for episode 185, a very different style of podcast and a much shorter as usual. Pretty much it's an appeal to you, not just telling you about this individual, but also encouraging you to get in touch if you have information on him. Thank you for tuning into episode 185. Do not forget, I say this every time, if you are watching this on YouTube and you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button so you can be kept updated about future podcasts and video productions from the Hare Krishna Project. And or if you're watching this on Facebook and you haven't already, please do like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page. Every time I say that, the number of subscribers and likers and followers does increase. So I appreciate you listening through to the end of the podcast. And of course, if you do also yourself want to be a guest on the Hare Krishna Project podcast, we would love to hear from you. We have a list at the moment of guests to fit in, which is fantastic. We will reach our 200th episode actually sooner than you realize. Okay, until next week, I'll see you all soon, and thank you for tuning in. Hare Krishna.